Welcome to the Nevis Newscast for Friday, October 9th, 2020. I am Bronte Swanston Hendrickson. Work on a water filtration system at Hamilton will continue from this weekend, 7 months after the project was delayed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Minister responsible for water services, the Honourable Spencer Brandt, gave an update on the project on Thursday, October 8th.
This coming Saturday, we will see some works commencing or continuing at the Hamilton water site. The general public would be aware that because of COVID, the technical team from Lakeshore, one of the companies that we have engaged in to undertaking the filtration system at Hamilton, was unable to travel to the island of Nevis. And we are happy that they would be available to commence the actual connection of some of the filtration components starting this Saturday. We are delighted that we will be able to have these folks on the island to do the necessary connection on the water filtration system at Hamilton. This we expect would last for approximately a month, as a second team would follow shortly. Once they would have finished their work, then another team would come and do some additional connection, and then we should be able to have this wrapped up in about a month's time.
The Water Services Minister also gave insight into the nature of the work the visiting technical team will do.
We expect them to be able to install the media for the filtration system, and we also expect them to run the necessary tests and make the necessary checks to ensure that everything is functioning properly before we can connect the system to the water for the island of Nevis. The general public would be aware that we would have completed the 400,000 gallon water tank that is already in use. We would have already done some flow tests on the nearby well that we hope to connect this water filtration system to. We are hoping that when this project is completed, we will be able to add a few more 100,000 gallons of water into the system, especially into the Charlestown area. And that will allow us to be able to retire a number of old wells in the Charlestown area.
Minister Brandt noted that there are also plans to harvest water to satisfy the growing demand on the island.
We also hope to embark on some new water drilling throughout the island. And once again, because of COVID and because of our financial constraint, we have not been able to proceed with that project. It is an initiative that we hope that we can have going in the new year, because we recognize that the demand for water continues to rise on a month-by-month basis. We also recognize that on the island of Nevis there has been a significant increase in farming. One of the spin-off of COVID, one of the benefits, so to speak, of COVID, that we are now seeing more and more persons getting into farming. And we have to make sure that we have the necessary water available to our farmers to be able to produce the necessary provisions for the people of Nevis.
Minister responsible for water services, the Honourable Spencer Brandt. In more local news,
in St. Kitts and Nevis, at present, we would have reported 19 cases. That's 19 confirmed cases, 18 recovered, and at present we only have one active case. The patient is stable and recovering nicely.
Chief Medical Officer Dr. Hazel Laws delivering the Health Emergency Operations Center Situation Report at the National COVID-19 EOC briefing on Wednesday, October 7th. She also used the opportunity to outline the protocols for Phase 1 of the reopening of St. Kitts and Nevis's borders in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Inbound travelers to the Federation, you will be asked to log on to the national website prior to traveling, and you are to complete the entry forms, which will ask you for regular demographic information, immigration related information, customs, and health. health questions. You also have to provide evidence of a negative COVID-19 PCR test done within 3 days or 72 hours of travel. And please note that this PCR test must be done at an accredited laboratory. All inbound travelers to the Federation will fall into two categories. And so we have the first category, meaning travelers coming in from the Caribbean bubble, any of the 7 Caribbean member states that, constitute this bubble, and those coming from outside of the Caribbean bubble. In other words, those coming in from hotspots.
She also spoke to Phase 2 of the reopening of the Federation's borders.
Now, the second phase will involve an expanded list of hotels and accommodations that will be certified to accept inbound travelers with significant risk from hotspots. The second phase will also involve an expanded list of excursions and local tourist destination sites that are COVID-19 certified with the relevant protocols. The second phase may also involve further changes to what we would have explained earlier. And this will be based on surveillance data that we will be collecting and the outcomes observed in the first phase.
Meantime, the CMO advises that a second wave of COVID-19 in St. Kitts and Nevis can be prevented even after the borders are reopened on October 31st.
It's very important that we get back into the habit of wearing our face masks when in public spaces. All the stakeholders within in the front line at our borders and in the hotel and tourism sector. It's important for you to adhere to the infection prevention and control measures to ensure safety of yourselves, the frontline workers, safety of the people of the Federation, and safety of the traveler, tourists. It's important for us to always remember hand hygiene, good hand hygiene, and sanitation, especially in the school setting where you have a number of persons gathered for many hours, in the workplace setting, in the business place, and other high-risk settings like the prisons and nursing homes for our older adults. Ladies and gentlemen, physical distance is also very important, and we need to be responsible as individuals and collectively in avoiding crowds.
Chief Medical Officer Dr. Hazel Laws. An earthquake with a magnitude of 5.1 rattled St. Kitts and Nevis, Antigua and Barbuda, and Guadeloupe during the early hours of Friday, October 9th, the Trinidad-based Seismic Research Center has confirmed. There have been no immediate reports of damage or injuries. The Seismic Research Center says the quake, which occurred at 14 minutes after midnight, was felt 116 kilometers northwest of Antigua's capital, St. John's. It was also felt in the neighboring islands of St. Kitts and Nevis and Guadeloupe. According to the Seismic Research Center, the quake was located at latitude 17.98 north, longitude 62.44 west, at a depth of 10 kilometers. World Post Day, October 9th, 2020, is a significant celebration as it is occurring as the world is facing a global health challenge in the COVID-19 pandemic. Minister of Posts, the Honorable Spencer Brand, says this has revealed many things and tested the resilience of organizations such as the Nevis Postal Services.
This year's theme, More Than Mail, is quite appropriate as it forces us to look beyond the basic function of the Postal Service of facilitating the movement of mail from the sender to the receiver. It forces us to reflect, and it creates an awareness that the post's role is significant in the daily lives of people, institutions, communities, and businesses throughout the whole world, as it is an essential service for the social and economic development of our society. Our theme, More Than Mail, reminds us that we must continue to work with our partners, other postal services, the Caribbean Postal Union, and the Universal Postal Union to adapt the challenges of the world, such as this pandemic, and diversify our services for our survival.
Postal workers are essential and must be viewed as such, says Minister Brandt, adding that he commends the management and the staff of Nevis Postal Services for their hard work, dedication and commitment over the past year.
We have seen here on the island of Nevis, as it was revealed during this pandemic, that the Post Office is providing a necessary service to a wide cross-section of the population, as persons are dependent on it to conduct essential financial services, such as receiving remittances and pension payments from overseas, their life-saving medications, protective equipment for fighting the COVID-19 pandemic, and even receiving packages of all sorts, including food items, for their social well-being and survival. It is imperative then for me to express again, on my own behalf, on behalf of the Ministry of Postal Services, and by extension on behalf of the Nevis Island Administration and its cabinet, profound gratitude and thanks to all the essential postal workers of the Nevis Post Office for being on the front line during this difficult period and for rising to the challenges that COVID-19 presented, just to ensure the Postal Services mandate is fulfilled. Happy World Post Day to all.
Meantime, Nevis Postal Services joined the international community to celebrate World Post Day on Friday, October 9th by donning T-shirts to bring awareness to the observance. Deputy Postmaster General Rhonda Forbes-Williams says other activities are planned for the month of October.
We usually have a month of activities, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we have scaled down our activities this year. On October 11th, we'll be having a church service at the Church of God of Prophecy, Product Road, that starts at 10 a.m. And on the 17th of October, there'll be a nature hike to the lighthouse. Everyone is invited to attend. The nature hike will start at 6 a.m. at the Long Point Port and onto the lighthouse. We'll showcase our postal items at the post office. As usual, that's also an annual activity.
The series of activities will culminate on October 31st with a staff appreciation dinner.
This dinner is specific to the staff of the post office. We would like to show our appreciation to the staff for the hard work that they have done during the year 2020. During that staff appreciation dinner, we'll be awarding some persons, and to be precise, we'll be awarding the Officer and Postman of the Year.
The event will also include the presentation of the Nevis Postal Services Lunch Sponsorship Award.
We would have had our primary school lunch sponsorship draw on the 5th of October. For the past 2 years, we would have sponsored a child from St. James's Primary and Elizabeth Primary. This year, the school would be announced, the winning school would be announced, and of course, as I said before, the principal of that school will be responsible for the selection of the student.
From October 5th to 9th, Postal Service workers also hosted a 2020 Vision radio program sensitizing the public on postal tips and fielding questions from the general public. That's it for this edition of the Nevis Newscast. On behalf of all of us here at the Department of Information, I am Bronte Swanston Hendrickson. Thank you for viewing.